Hello. Hello. Okay, another one of my thoughts. I was going to go and do some work and all the rest of it while I'm uploading the other video that I've just made, which was about our ancestors. Can they hand down some DNA? Another quite fascinating my thoughts has come in from my friend Deborah, lovely beautiful Deborah, and she asks what are my thoughts on psychopathy? Deborah, it's difficult for me to make a video and discuss every last thing that I would know about psychopathy, really. Do you know what I can do? There was a guy in I can't remember the year, in the 70s, there was a guy called Robert Hare. So if you search Robert Hare, or if you search H-A-R-E, Hare, the Hare psychopathy checklist, H-A-R-E, Hare psychopathy checklist. Have a look at that. If you're concerned about a loved one that may be a psychopath, you think they're a psychopath, you want to understand a little bit more about if somebody's had a diagnosis of being a psychopath, go on to that Hare, H-A-R-E, psychopathy checklist. Go on to that. Very, very easy. What he did, he scored, I think there's 20 traits, they say, that would tell you definitely if somebody's a psychopath or not. It's very, very easy to understand, and you get 3 scores, so 0, 1 and 2, and they say, has this loved one ever hugged you, kissed you, told you they love you? And you score it 0, 1 or 2. 0 is no, never. 1 is maybe, sort of. And 2 is yes, definitely. So it's very simple, 0, 1 and 2. So go on that and have a look. There are only 20 sort of traits, that's what they've worked out. Which is fantastic, really, because it's something that's very, very difficult to diagnose if somebody is a psychopath, you know. How do you diagnose that? Because psychopaths have a tendency to be very clever, far cleverer than we ever know. They're callous, cunning, conniving, lying, deceiving. It's a horrible trait, if you like, a horrible human trait to have. So I can't really do my thoughts on it, Deborah, not really. I've written a couple of little bits down. Yeah, I've written down Hare psychopathy checklist, okay, H-A-R-E, so please have a look at that. I haven't had a look, I haven't done any research on it, but there must be Google or whatever. It's a 3-point scale, yeah, 0, 1 and 2. So it was Robert Hare that sort of first came up with that in the 70s. Now part of the 20 traits, I've only written the ones down that I can remember because there are 20 different traits, but there's pathological lying, they're prone to boredom, there's a total lack of remorse. So if somebody was to do something, whatever they do, they couldn't care less. If you bought a brand new whatever, a brand new car, and they took it for a spin up the lane and crashed it, they would just say, crashed your car. And you say, well, God, I've only just bought that, so couldn't care less. It doesn't register with them. It doesn't register. There's just a total lack of remorse. They're not bothered. They can be quite impulsive as well. That's all I've written down. There's some odd traits with psychopaths actually. They have a low resting heart rate. It was something that was discovered during a load of tests. I got a feeling it might have been Ted Bundy, the serial killer. And they discovered that he had a very unusually low resting heart rate. Obviously our heartbeat, it's normally about 76 a minute, isn't it? But when we rest, it goes down to whatever level, comfortable level for you. But they noticed with somebody, and I got a feeling it was Ted Bundy, I could be wrong, but they have a very low resting heartbeat, very low. So they looked at other serial killers at rest, and they had a very, very low resting heartbeat. So that's something to perhaps be aware of, really. That was quite an interesting little... It's only one little thing they discovered, but I thought that was very, very interesting. And why should that be? Well, it should be because they have no worries, no cares. They're not bothered. If they've upset you, they couldn't care less. There is no remorse. They don't suffer from guilt. They don't suffer from like anxiety or worry over anybody or anything or anyone. They're not bothered. They've got no care in the world. So they hardly need a heartbeat. I think that's all I wrote down. Yeah, it is. The best way, Deborah, the best way to explain what a psychopath is somebody with they've got no inner moral compass. There is no right and wrong. They will just do whatever they want. That's the end of it. If that pleases you, they couldn't care less. If it displeases you, they couldn't care less. That is a true psychopath. Obviously, we know all about the books written about, psychopaths and what have you, don't we? It makes for good television, good documentaries, good films, whatever. And it is a truly fascinating subject, really, because they are so deceiving and conniving and cunning, far cleverer than we would ever give them credit for in many respects. So the only thing that I can say, Deborah, is do your research, really, and obviously if you have any real major concerns, the first port of call is your mental health team, your local mental health team, your doctor, things like that. But do have a look at that Hare psychopathy checklist, because that's a really good thing to give you an inkling if you're worried or concerned or whatever about somebody. Most psychopaths turn to crime. We know that because it's perfect for them. Absolutely perfect. They are in their heads. There's no victims. There's no need to feel remorse or sorry or guilty for anything. Damage property, so what? Harm a person, so what? It doesn't bother them. They're not interested. They cannot find it within them to have empathy, to be concerned about your thoughts, your feelings. That's not what a psychopath has inside. Hugely complex mental disorder, because of course it is a mental disorder, and it is a recognised mental disorder as well. But it's very difficult to diagnose. However, with these 20 traits, I said, didn't I, about pathological lying, prone to boredom, lack of remorse, impulsive. That could explain many of us, perhaps. But there are further traits. It's certainly worth doing your research on it if you are concerned. Much bigger than I could ever do it justice in one of these little my thoughts. I don't know if that's giving you any food for thought, perhaps. But you can take it on further, can't you, really, yourself now? Do some research and stuff like that. But Hare, please have a look at that. If you're even mildly concerned, fascinating subject, fascinating condition, awful condition. Obviously, the psychopath doesn't know that they've got anything wrong. They just go roughshod over life, if you know what I mean. They walk all over everybody because there's no feelings, you know. There is, I did read years ago, something about love with psychopaths. I can't remember how it went, but it was, although they are sort of incapable of loving, they still have a deep-rooted feeling inside that they want to be loved. It's virtually impossible to love a psychopath, obviously, because of how manipulative and how lying, conniving they can be. Nobody could love a psychopath, nobody, because there is not a lot there to love. You're loving a brick wall. Your love goes up against a brick wall. It doesn't get through to the person, because even if you did love a psychopath, they're not bothered. They're not bothered at all. Deep-rooted, yes, they want to be loved, or they feel that they need to be loved, but they can't deal with love. Again, there's no feeling there for them. They couldn't care less. Couldn't care less about your feelings. If they've hurt you, they couldn't care less. If they physically harm you, couldn't care less. Makes no odds, just as it is. And that's why it's an awful, awful mental condition. But yeah, do your research on it, really, is all I could say. I'm sorry that I can't do a lot, really, in this, my thoughts. It's only a very short video. And I can't really discuss too much, obviously, in a very short video. But have a look at that that little checklist. Go through the 0, 1 and 2 and see what you can come up with. But if you are concerned, there is help out there. Okay. Cheers, Deborah. I hope you're well. Take care then and be well. Cheers. Ta-da.